Hey guys, it's CJ. So I am going to be making this video on my immersion experience because I feel that it's best when I can just project my ideas and my opinions through a video. And for the sake of privacy, I will just explain as much detail as I can about my experience with working with the Milwaukee Rescue Mission and just talk about that a little bit, as well as get into what I've learned and some key points of this whole experience. So I went to the Milwaukee Rescue Mission on Friday, March 29th, so not too long ago, and I just really enjoyed it. And the Milwaukee Rescue Mission, and the location is down here, it's located pretty much at the heart of Milwaukee, so right in the center. And I went at about 4-ish o'clock because I didn't really have class on Friday. I just decided to spend my time and connect with the people since I had no other better things to do. But I knew I wanted to work with the Milwaukee Rescue Mission just because homeless people or just the subject of homelessness really touches my heart, and it's something that I find as a very critical issue in our society and not just in Milwaukee that I want to be contributing to help eliminate or subdue. The purpose for me with this activity is just getting to know homeless people more in depth and just get to know them as people rather than just people suffering through homelessness, and also getting to know the volunteers and why this organization came to be. So I personally selected this experience because I feel that getting to know something or getting to know someone of different circumstances really opens up your eyes, just become more knowledgeable and become more culturally aware of what's going on around you, and ultimately makes you a better person. So that's kind of why I decided to do this, is just because I know that it's going to help people, and I really thrive on helping people and getting to know people. For me personally, I've always volunteered in homeless shelters, but volunteering for a homeless shelter here in Milwaukee is a lot different just because back in my hometown we didn't really have a culturally diverse selection of homeless people. Most of it were runaway teens or people just, you know, not having enough money to fulfill jobs. And we did have some minorities, but not as much as Milwaukee does. So it really opened my eyes to work with people of different races and different ethnicities, and pretty much it describes identities that were not related to me because I'm very lucky to come from a family where I've always had a stable home. They had stable income, as well as like the opportunity to go to school to have a better education for myself. And then as well as I also got to connect with people from different races and different cultures, and everyone had different interests. So there were just a bunch of different things, a bunch of different varieties within a homeless shelter that I got to learn about and know about, but still be able to connect with them as a resident or as a citizen in Milwaukee. And so for me personally, there were just many identities that I didn't affiliate with, but in the end I got to know them. They're just people that reside in Milwaukee, just the circumstances were a lot different. How I felt before this experience was definitely just different in the sense that obviously I was working with a lot more people, because like I said, there were a couple people that showed up in the homeless shelters in my hometown, but not as much because my hometown's reputation is known for having stable businesses and a bunch of trade work available for people who want to go into trade work. Otherwise, there's a bunch of different jobs with degrees that are offered in my hometown. So there was a good chunk of people in my hometown that had stable income, but it was really interesting and it was really different for me to see so many people that were not able to have those circumstances, either because they lived in an area where it didn't have a lot of job opportunities, or they were laid off and suddenly circumstances started to pile up from there and they ended up being homeless. So I personally felt really drawn and really just open-minded about this, and I personally felt also really sad just because I know going in it firsthand that I'm going to see a lot more people occupy these shelters and occupy the Milwaukee Rescue Mission and compared to my hometown. But overall I was excited to get to know the people personally and get to see what the Milwaukee Rescue Mission is doing for Milwaukee itself. So some questions that I had in this experience beforehand was, how many people does the Milwaukee Rescue Mission serve on average, either bi-weekly, daily, or anything, and what some of the things that they do to help people get back on their feet for homeless shelters, or what are the immediate emergencies that they do to help. So during this experience I felt really overwhelmed at first, just because I again have a really strong heart for homeless people, because I always feel that like everyone should just at least have the basic necessities to survive, and I just was overwhelmed to see how many different people people were there, especially seeing young kids were there. Because like I said, I was really lucky and fortunate enough to have the circumstances that I did to be able to go to school and have clothes on my back and new clothes on my back and have so much more than just basic necessities to survive. And so I felt overwhelmed, but I was also humbled to see that even if these people were having the worst of the worst conditions, or just, you know, slowly getting by just the little things, that they were still like the happiest people, and they still just like had a zest for life, and, you know, just really believe that sometime in the future or someday that they're going to be able to bring themselves out of the condition they're in and have a better life for themselves and their families. So that was just, again, really humbling, and it was a really positive moment for me, and I felt really optimistic then once I got to know these people and talk to them. And I feel like there's so much that I could have learned from these people if I talked to more people, but I just had like a limited time to be there to volunteer and just talk to these people. And so with that being said, my perception has definitely changed on this population, just because I've always had not necessarily like a pitiful or like super empathetic view on homeless people, but I can definitely say that from this experience, I've been able to look at homeless people as just people with different interests and stuff that they're super into, and how they've been able to have access to them. And so I just really got to know them by what they liked and what they didn't like, from their stories and stuff like that, and their cultures as well, learning about different cultures and how they kind of integrate that even though they're homeless. So that was like really a perception that really changed for me, as well as just not looking at homelessness as like people issue, but rather than like an opportunity, an environment issue, especially since a lot of these people that I talked to lost their jobs and have not been able to find jobs within their area that is affordable housing, but is also like the places close by, and also like just pays really well. So that's kind of how I changed my perception of rather looking at homelessness as like a people issue. It's an opportunity and a environment issue. So from this experience working with different populations and as an orientation leader and different students, there's definitely going to be a lot of different kids coming from different socioeconomic statuses. So there'll be kids who have to pay for college because their parents are at a very fortunate place in their lives and their careers, where they don't have to worry about losing money or sacrificing money to go send their kid to college, versus like a first generation kid who has to figure out how to get through college. And usually, like we learned about in class, first generation kids are usually coming from low income families, learning how to get by with scholarships and figuring out how to take out loans and also balance a part-time job if need be, and school and everything. So what I learned from this experience is definitely learning to just be empathetic and learning just to listen to their stories, and when they ask for my advice, that I would give them the right resources and just know the right things to say to be able to help them to be successful. But also with that being said, is that I would just not put my shielders on to recognize the different circumstances these kids are, because ultimately we're all students in this school and we're all trying to focus on having a better life for ourselves. Just also getting to know them with like a personal relationship and just getting to know what they like and what they don't like, so that they're more comfortable in just being themselves and not have to be so self-conscious about where they stand, like family background wise and everything. That's at least part of the critical things that I've learned from this experience that I will take with me as an orientation leader. And then overall, my personal reflection of this experience is I've had a great time. I genuinely had a great time talking to these people, and although I wasn't able to film it because people were very private in the organization, and I just wanted to be respectful of it just so I can truly experience it as well, so I'm not too busy filming, but actually just being immersed and really just being present and mindful of being with the people. I didn't really feel much, but I really just had a genuinely like happy experience. I got to play games with the kids, especially. That was a ton of fun. And I also got to just read and have conversations with some of the older adults, some of the teenagers, a bunch of different people I got to interact with, and it was just overall a very positive environment. And the volunteers and the people who actually worked there were so giving and so kind, and they were always open to answer questions. And I definitely recommend having anyone just visit the Milwaukee Rescue Mission after what I experienced. I would definitely take friends with me as well. And then with this experience too, a lot of it connects to class. So it was really awesome to see that, because these people who are the volunteers and the people who actually work for this organization, they don't necessarily use power or their privilege in an abusive abusive way, but they use it to uplift people in the homeless shelters. And one of the volunteers told me that she was able to help a homeless mother get a job and is now having a stable income and has their own place to themselves, and she's able to support her family and even take them to fun days out with their kids. And so recognizing that these people who volunteer use their power and privilege to help these people who do not have these many privileges as we do for the greater good is super awesome, and it was super refreshing. And I think too, with power, it ultimately depends on how we use it, because I feel that everyone has power, but it depends on how much power we use. And I think that's really important to recognize too, that power can't necessarily be a bad thing, but it also can't necessarily be a good thing. So we just have to find that perfect balance depending on the environment. And then as well as privilege, just recognizing that since we do come from different circumstances, that we can use that as like stepping stools to help others get to the place where we need to be. Personally, I've just learned a lot from this, and seeing connections I've made and the lessons I've learned in class. This experience has definitely been life-changing and mind-blowing, to say the least. I'm just really grateful and humbled that this is actually a project that I've been able to participate in, and I would definitely recommend it to everyone. Yeah, I just had a great time. Overall, it was a very awesome experience. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys kind of got some insight. Like I said, I couldn't put as much content in regards to filming just because I do want it to be respectful and mindful, but hopefully again you guys kind of got some clear vision and clear idea of what I've learned and how much I've learned and how my experience was. And yeah, so thank you guys so much, and I'll see y'all later. Bye guys.